Joe Hopkins here, and why buy a budget guitar? Why buy something budget? And I'm bringing this up because this comes up in my comments all the time, man. All the time people are saying, whenever I get a budget guitar, like this, my most recent one, right? This is my SBS. And people always say, why don't you save up your money and get one really good guitar? Get a good one, get Gibson, get a Fender, save up your money and get a good one. And I'll tell you why, Mr. Moneybags. Now, kidding, man, if that's what you want to do, you want one really good guitar, great, right? My dad wanted a Martin acoustic. Saved up his money, found one that he could relatively afford, bought a Martin acoustic. Good, that's good for him. He plays the guitar, he loves that guitar, that's great. Now, I'm not just a guitarist. Like many of us, I'm also a recording artist, and I've recorded other people. I have a small studio in my house, which I'm doing this video in, right? I've done a lot of stuff. And when you're doing different types of music, different styles of music, and different things, you can't always do it with the same guitar. There really are differences with some of them, and it really helps to have several. Now, at this point, I'm doing a YouTube channel here about budget guitars. A lot of what I do is about budget guitars and reviewing them. So I'm collecting them. I buy them, review it. It's fun to collect. And if you like collecting guitars, budget guitars are a cheaper way to collect guitars. That gets expensive if you're buying like big name brand guitars. That can get real expensive real fast. But like I was saying about recording, I do different styles of music, and if I was buying one guitar, yeah, okay, I could see saving up and getting something really nice. And there are some expensive ones I'd love to have. Love to, right? I love Schecter guitars. I'd love to have one of their really nice guitars with the floating tremolo and that Sustainiac pickup. Oh man, that looks so cool. But I don't have the money to buy that. And if I saved up the money, I wouldn't have the money to buy 5 or 6 other budget guitars. And the thing is, because I kind of need multiple instruments, because I don't just do one style of music, well, that kind of puts me in a bind, doesn't it? Right? I wanted a Telecaster for doing country and old style blues rock stuff, so I bought a Tele. It's good to have a Strat style guitar with the 3 single coil pickups for some things. You need humbuckers for others. I started this when my wife and I were recording albums. I realized I didn't have a steel string acoustic. I had one, but it was kind of busted up. You couldn't really play it except with slide. So I used that for slide, and we had classical guitars that we used for all the acoustic stuff. And that's great, but I was doing stuff that I wanted, a steel string for. The classicals worked fine for the songs my wife wrote. She preferred that sound anyway. So at the time, I'm going to, used instrument stores and pawn shops and stuff like that looking for things. I realized that I had a Strat style guitar, but I could really use some dual humbuckers for a lot of the recording I was getting into. So I needed a 12 string for some things. So that's when I got into budget guitars, right? I looked around, found a couple of channels, especially Guitar Max. And at the time, he was really into Harley Benton guitars. And I realized I could get a dual humbucker guitar and a 12-string acoustic and some other things pretty cheap. The steel string acoustic, I got a used one at an instrument store that I loved. Wish the place was still open. They closed, unfortunately. Bedford Banjo Shop, one of my favorite stores ever. They closed during the pandemic. But anyway, so, time goes on. There's stuff I want to do I need a 7-string for. Hey, Harley Benton has a 7-string, and it's fairly affordable. I need a 5-string bass. If I was buying brand name stuff for all of these, it would get expensive. It would get really expensive really quick. Honestly, I would really like a 12-string electric guitar. And that kit guitar, I've done a couple videos on it. I still haven't gotten around to putting it together. I finally painted it, but haven't put it together. That dual neck, that's going to have a 12-string electric, and I'm hoping it sounds good when I have the time to put it together. Time, isn't it an issue? But yeah, why buy a budget guitar? Well, because can you afford a Schecter? Or do you have 400 bucks for this? Right? Because this is close. Dual humbuckers, coil split, floating tremolo. I know it's not the same quality, but this does what I need it to do. And it has the sound I need it to have. Yeah, a lot of the brand name guitars are better. Some of them are overpriced. I think Gibson is overpriced. Some of them I think are worth the money, like Schecter or Fender or EVH. And, you know, some of them have lower priced models, like Fender or Epiphone. But I do like checking out new brands. I enjoy it. It's also fun, and it's fun for other people too. Plus, you have people that collect guitars from a particular brand. They really get hung up on that brand, like Firefly. A lot of their fans are good for wanting the new models as they come out and buying like all of them. When they do new frets, when they do new finishes or paint jobs, people want them, even though they already have 10 others. You can't do that with Gibson. It would cost you so much money, it's obscene. But you can do it with Firefly. Right, because their guitars are $200 to $300 a piece. If you have a reasonably decent income, you can afford that, right? You don't have to be rich. That's why budget guitars. That's why a lot of people get budget guitars. Also, some people just want something to that they think looks cool to bang around on. I bought this one, my Harley Benton Delta Blues, right? I love this guitar because it was like, it was $100 with shipping at the time, and I bundled it with a couple other instruments, you know? So with shipping, it was maybe $120, $130. I know shipping from Thomann is more than that, but I'm dividing the shipping among like the 3 instruments I ordered at the time. And it's nice that I have a $100 guitar because that's the one that I take out with me if I go to the park, if I go over to a friend's house, if I'm taking a guitar with me and I want something I don't mind beating up, that's the guitar. That's it. And that's another reason why budget guitars can be fun. And a lot of them are very good, very professional level guitars. And the thing is, let's say you're a gigging musician, but you don't have a lot of money. Like a lot of us don't, right? Do you want to take your nice Gibson on a limited tour, or do you want to take your Wolf? Wolf guitars are professional quality. They're as good as you could possibly want, but they cost less than half of what a Gibson does. So you might want to take the Wolf, because when you're out touring, when you're on the road, shit gets stolen. Guitars come up missing. Things get damaged. Do you want your $1,800 Gibson to get damaged, or maybe stolen? That's a bigger target. That's more tempting for people to steal. If you're a musician on a budget, maybe you take your $500 Wolf, because if something happens to it, that would suck. But I mean, if something happens to your Gibson, oh my God, come on. So that's what I mean, man. A lot of budget companies make stuff that is professional level, and maybe the Gibson is better, but it also costs so much more. Do you want to risk it, right? Do you want to take your $1,200 Martin or $2,000 Gibson acoustic to the park or to a party? Or do you want to have your $100 Harley Benton? I forgot the name for a sec. My brain's like, bleh. Do you want to take your $100 Harley Benton out with you? If that guitar gets damaged, I'm not going to cry too many tears over it. I love the guitar. It would suck, but it was $100. I can replace it. If I went out and spent some serious money on an expensive guitar, or even an older one, I have a classical guitar, Franciscan, that I got in 1992. And it wasn't a terribly expensive guitar. And it really isn't terribly valuable, but because I've had it since 92, since it was my second guitar, and it's the one I learned classical guitar on, it has a certain amount of sentimental value. I don't want to take it out places anymore. I used to. In high school, that's the only guitar I really played all that much. I took it everywhere. I don't want to now. It has too much sentimental value. I don't want to risk losing it or damaging it at this point. I still play it a lot though. But so I can buy another classical guitar or acoustic guitar to take places with me. I could take the Harley Benton instead of something I really care about. And that's another reason for budget guitars. Plus, a lot of us aren't that wealthy. We are, most of us are living paycheck to paycheck. Let's admit it, right? And if you're not, kudos to you. I'm not anymore. But I have to make time to make videos now because a lot of overtime. But yeah, man, even being ahead a little bit, I can't just afford to spend money that needs to go to other things. So there, budget guitars. Plus, a lot of those companies sell other instruments. So if you're interested in learning another instrument, well, it's a good way to get into it. Maybe maybe someday you'd like to buy an expensive violin, but it's better to learn on a cheap one because you really don't know if it's going to take when you first start playing. You might get bored with it. It might not go anywhere. You know what I mean? Same thing with guitar. That's another reason why you might buy a budget guitar. You, or if you're younger, maybe your parents, you want a guitar, they buy you one for Christmas. It's good to know which cheap ones are good. It at least gets you started. If you want something more expensive down the line, well, maybe someday you'll get one. But you might not play it that long. You might play it a little bit and decide, this isn't for me. Same thing with any instrument, man. My first banjo was free. Somebody gave it to us. So you get to find out, do I like this instrument? Do I not like this instrument? You know what I mean? And then later on, buy something better if you want, which I haven't. I still love that banjo and it sounds good. So, but there you go. Budget guitars. There's a reason. And, I got quite a collection of them now. And I got to say, I think I've spent about, I don't know, maybe a little over one Gibson Les Paul to buy 25, 30 guitars. So I get to have a whole collection and it looks cool. I got them hanging up right behind the camera, a whole wall of guitars. It's really cool. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on that. That's my little response to the why don't you save up and buy something better. Plus better, I mean, it's in the eye of the beholder. I like my guitars. I think they're fine. They do the job that they're designed to do. Anyway, hey man, subscribe to my channel. Here in a second, there's an end screen. Check out the playlist. I got reviews. The reviews playlist, reviews on all those budget guitars I was talking about. I got a playlist that says I Didn't Get a Memory. That's my album. Listen to it. It's also on streaming. Links down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you guys. Peace out, baby. Bye-bye.